Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tropicalcast. I'm your host Gabe, joined by our chief shiny hunter Brett Briley,
Welcome.
the uncharted musician Colin Briley,
Yeah, that's fair.
and our resident gaming scholar Nathan Wigg.
Hello.
You can follow us on socials. Just search for Tropical Mix Games on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. You should find us. If you're watching this video, you'll most likely find us on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for Tropical Mix. What's going on, guys? What have you guys been up to?
The only answer is Elden Ring.
Same.
Okay. Yeah. Elden Ring House. Got it.
Yeah.
The other only answer is Witcher 2.
But
Okay.
Warhammer's out.
I dropped off of it pretty quickly.
Oh, wow.
Really?
I'm going to come back to it later this year.
Alright.
Okay. I've been busy throwing out my back.
Ooh.
Which happened last year too, around this time. It's a good reminder that I feel old. The setup I have now, I have this pillow on like the back of the chair. I put a blanket over it, just to make my little back feel a little better maybe.
Some lumber.
And some lumber, yeah. But as soon as I get up, then it hits. Everything just kind of drops. If you're young out there listening, don't get old. Stay young. So today, the topic of the show, the episode, is the Nintendo Switch. Which last week celebrated its 5th birthday on March 3rd. I want to play a quick word association game with you guys.
Oh boy.
So, when you think, it's not really. Okay, so when you think of the Switch, what's a phrase or word that comes to mind?
One more thing.
Oh yeah.
It's not really a phrase or a word, but the snap. It's become synonymous with the Switch, so.
Me too.
As a side note to that, that's a good example of how marketing can be very, very simple yet brilliant at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's literally one sound, one recognizable sound, but if you hear that, you know something cool is about to happen.
Yeah. Nathan.
When I think of the Switch, I think of either just Breath of the Wild or first just Nintendo. I don't know. There's not much. It's quite simple for me.
I think
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild and like Mario Kart are the two I think of.
I'm kind of where Brett's at. Yeah, the snap is what comes to mind.
Yeah.
Can you guys think back to when you first heard about the Switch, when you saw that it was announced? What did you think about it?
Well, this was coming off the Wii U, which we have a Wii U, but we didn't use it much. I mean, you used it the most. It was yours, obviously. But really, there wasn't that much good on the Wii U.
Yeah.
I mean, comparatively to most Nintendo consoles, at least.
I agree with that.
So, I mean, and then it's cool that it can be like a handheld and a console, but I think everyone kind of knew right away that would be a little underpowered at that point. But it definitely looked cool. It had some good games at the launch, so yeah.
I don't.
What were its launch games besides Zelda? I forgot.
Ultra Street Fighter 2. The
New Challengers,
The new-
was it?
that's what I think it was, but
Wasn't 1-2 Switch a launch
1-2
game?
Switch, which I was going to talk about later, because I remember buying that.
Yeah, you fucked up.
Super Bomberman.
Snipper clips.
Snipper clips.
with digital only.
Oh,
but
yeah. Shovel Knight?
I think that was.
I think Shovel Knight was launched, but I mean, to be fair, that was already on Wii U
Yeah.
and
Everything
Right.
else.
Xbox One and PS4. So
I mean, that's a decent amount of games, and when you factor in Breath of the Wild itself, like,
yeah, yeah. I don't remember my initial thoughts. I mean, I was probably gonna buy one anyway because I buy every Nintendo system, but I don't know. I thought it was weird at first because like Nintendo before this had like teams that would work on their home console stuff, and then they had teams that would do handheld only stuff, and now they were gonna merge them, and I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna go well, but it ended up working pretty well.
Yeah.
yeah. Also, I do want to say, when that came out, I really wasn't playing video games that much because that's when I had started my new job, right when we started our new jobs, basically. So I wasn't really playing anything at that point. So yeah.
I liked the initial ads of people gathering around on a rooftop playing video games, and part of that did get actualized when at a wedding we played NBA 2K on
Oh god.
with a kickstand. So that did happen. So I felt like part of the rooftop moment did actually become a thing.
Yeah, that's what got me too, was that Super Bowl ad that they played, which I think is where they announced it. And I think that's where this background is from. It's a couple of bros playing the Switches at the laundromat. Yeah, it's this, I mean, I haven't really had that many moments, but them showing all those different types of scenarios where that could happen, and that was just so exciting for me. And then they just like bring it home and like plop it into the TV. It just projects on the TV. Blew my mind. Like I at the time I hadn't even like thought about that could be a concept. But yeah, they nailed it for sure.
Yeah.
When did you guys all get your Switches? Your first Switch?
I think I was probably the first one to get one. I met this guy on Craigslist, and I went to the Target in the Quarry, and I bought it from him there, outside. I think that was during the launch month, though, or like the month after. So I overpaid a little, but you couldn't get them for like months. So.
Unless you had a pre-order.
Was it a
Then
pre-order?
Gabe got one right away.
Oh, you did? Okay. Nice. But yeah, I remember buying Breath of the Wild in snipper clips right away. And I played Breath of the Wild a lot, and that was before the cloud save, so my save is long gone by now, because I don't have the Switch anymore. And snipper clips was pretty cool with somebody. But then I didn't really buy anything for a long time, except 1-2 Switch, which we played once, and then never played again.
So there was a big draw between like Breath of the Wild and the next big game. I want to say it was either Splatoon or Mario Kart.
I think Mario Kart.
Mario Kart was April.
Okay.
So it was probably
Splatoon beta, I do remember that was kind of big, because that was like the biggest thing Switch had after the launch, which was a beta.
Splatoon 2 was July, so yeah, it was Mario Kart was the next big one.
Yeah, I go ahead, Brett.
I was just gonna say, I think I actually waited to get mine until Fire Emblem Warriors came out. I know is like the dumbest game to wait for, but
Okay.
so I think I got mine when that came out, and I got the collector's edition of that, and then I think I got Mario Kart also. Just because I'm not into Zelda, so I didn't really care about getting one at launch, but yeah.
I got mine towards the end of 2017. I fell to the hype beast of Zelda. Then not to knock the game, because I think it's a game I'll get into, and I think it probably deserves its praises. But I think shortly after that, or perhaps before that, I also bought a PS4 Pro, so there was a lot of competition for my time.
Yeah, you got it with my discount at Target.
I did. Got it with the red card that I canceled pretty swiftly after that.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Served its purpose.
I got mine on launch. I was able to get a pre-order, and it was the first thing I ever went to a midnight launch for, because I was that like excited for it. Was everybody's first game Zelda, I'm guessing? Or no, Brett was Warriors.
Yeah, mine was Zelda, like I said.
Yeah, same. What's everybody's favorite thing about the Switch? Favorite feature or game or memory?
I would say just the thing I like about Nintendo, and I don't play many Nintendo games anymore, is there's kind of, even the brand new games, they give a feeling of nostalgia for me. Like, it brings me back to when I was younger and playing like the GameCube or the Nintendo 64 or the Game Boy Advance. So when you play like a new Nintendo game, you kind of get that same feeling. Like when I was playing Fire Emblem Three Houses, when that came out, it just made me feel like I was younger again, and I could just play it all day, kind of. So when I do play a Switch game, I know what basically I'm going to be getting, a very high quality game, unless it's 1-2 Switch, and then it kind of brings me back. Which sometimes it's good to have a feeling like that you're younger again, and you don't have to worry about adult life sometimes. So that's what I really love about it. Oh, also now that they're adding more classic games, Sega's doing it the right way with the Sega Ages stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen that. They're like putting individual games for sale, like ported by M2, and they're like $4.99 to $5.99
for the Switch too.
Yeah, they have like 30 of them now. But they go on sale a lot, so they're like $1.99 a bunch of the time. So if you want to buy like Sonic 1 or 2 or whatever, they're on sale usually. So yeah. Instead of doing an online paid service to play 5 games.
True.
I think my favorite thing about the Switch is that it's like giving new life to like certain franchises. Like, I mean, obviously, like Mario's always gonna sell, Mario Kart's gonna sell, Zelda's gonna sell, the Pokemon games are gonna sell. But I mean, like, just even like smaller franchises are like seeing really good sales, like on here, like Metroid, like first 2D Metroid in forever. That's almost it's almost already like the best selling Metroid game in the franchise. Pikmin 3 did really good for a port. Advance Wars is probably going to do really good numbers. I'm trying to think of other smaller Nintendo stuff that they've actually released.
I mean, even for indie games, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really good for indies, too, yeah.
Ring Fit.
Ring Fit did stupid numbers. I don't know why it did that. Like, you could not buy that thing for months. Like, honestly, I'm at this point, I'm hoping for an F-Zero game because it'll probably sell really good, and then they'll be like, hey, this is actually a good franchise.
You guys know the last F-Zero game was in 2005 on the Game Boy Advance.
No. Oh my god.
It's almost 20 years ago. So if they started development today of an F-Zero, it would probably come out in 3 years. 2, 3.
Switch Pro. Or Switch 2.
I have an idea for the next F-Zero. So it's So like it's at its base is just a racing game, but there's also a campaign mode
Yeah.
where you play as Captain Falcon and like you do races, but when you're not in races, it's like a
3D brawler.
yes, like
Yeah.
um Yakuza. It'd be so good.
I mean, I
Come
think
on.
that's the logical next step, realistically, because when you put him in every single Smash Bros.
He's a guy. He's literally got a moveset
Yeah.
too that was never in any other
Yeah.
game. They were just
And
like,
it's so iconic, like that has to be like the next thing they do, which is probably
Bro,
why they're not doing
bro,
it.
I want to see a Yakuza like Captain Falcon game.
Yeah.
And
Let's just
I know
mod.
there's a mod for it.
Is there actually? Oh shit!
Yes, of
I
course.
want to play that now.
Nathan, what's yours? Your favorite thing about the Switch?
It's unfortunately it's not something I spend too much time with, but I think I've had spent a lot of time, and I've mentioned this before. Just it's been a great console for what I feel is for non gamers to get into, because there's a bit of a nostalgia for a lot of people. The side scrolling Mario that carries a lot of weight. So I think there's a lot of it's a good console that has a lot of good games that can teach people the language of games that I think us as veterans take for granted. And as simple as, I think Mario, the one that got ported, Super Mario's U, that got ported from the Wii U. I mean, it's like any other platform. I think some platforms have deviated from this, but the whole left to right thing, that's pretty foundational, and I don't think that happens at all in that game. I mean, there's some verticality and stuff like that, but that along and that, so that kind of does it's really it's helped me think about it's helped me think about games in a different way, and how we can there's some good and there's some clear ways that people can get into it, and there's some not so clear or easy ways, simple ways that people can get into it. But I think the Switch is a good system, and it's mostly due to the titles it has.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think the way it's built is also accessible to people, because with the Joy Cons, that's all. You can just like if you're at a park with somebody, you can just give them a Joy-Con. There's like 5 buttons on it, as opposed to like a PS5 or controller, which might be kind of scary looking to a new gamer. And even just like the system itself and like the menus and the UI, it's very simple and accessible.
Yeah.
Not to be mixed up with something that's kind of like marketed and made for kids. I think Nintendo was kind of the first to make because their systems were just so simple and easy to pick up. It made them more accessible than the other boxes that were out there.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is probably the portability. As someone who lives a lifestyle where I can't always play on the big screen, it's nice to have the option to play off of it and kind of get mostly the same experience. And I think another part of the portability is that I want to play games if they're on Switch. I think of Death's Door, which I got like a month within its release on Xbox. I've started it, but then I thought I wanted to play it on Switch, and then it eventually came to Switch, and I played a lot of hours on it on Switch, just because it has that draw to it for me that I can take it anywhere for the most part. What's everyone's least favorite thing about the Switch?
Oh boy.
Where do we start?
Just 2 things I want to say. One, the shovelware is Wii U levels of bad, or I'm sorry, Wii levels of bad.
I was gonna say the Wii U didn't have a lot of shovelware.
Levels of bad. That was more physical shovelware. How many Wii Sports clones were there? Like 92?
So many.
That
Yeah.
was a lot good.
all the My games, like
Yeah.
my Baby or whatever.
Yeah.
My Sims.
It was a lot. But also, and this might sound stupid, but honestly, the power of it, it was underpowered to the regular PS4 and Xbox One. Now we're on the PS5 and the Series X, right?
Right.
That needs a port.
Yep.
That needs a port. I'll get to that. But yeah, like, just, there's keeps being rumors about Switch Pro, but, who knows if they're going to do that. Obviously, they're going to continue doing something like the Switch, because it's Nintendo's best-selling console already, so. But, how do you... and it's possible to make it more powerful and smaller. You can look at the Steam Deck. But,
that thing's pretty damn big.
yeah, it's big. But, it's possible to make it about the same size. Also, 5 years in technology, is 5 years way faster than, any other, thing I can think of, honestly, so.
Yep.
I think part of the power thing, too, is, the first year or two, it was fine, I think, because, Odyssey looks amazing.
Breath of
the Wild looks good for the fact that came out at launch.
Yeah.
It looks better than Legends Arceus, which is saying something because that's almost a 5 year difference. And I think the first 2 years it was kind of okay, they were still making the games look good with what they had, but now you're seeing more and more games where it's ooh,
Right. Starting to catch up.
So I'm hoping if they do a Switch Pro or if they do a Switch 2 or whatever, that they keep it backwards compatible and they're able to optimize some of these games better. Because a lot of these games I like to play, but running at sub 30 frames, is kind of
I think theoretically, I think it would be possible to make a bigger dock, and then once you dock it, it takes extra power from the dock to project it to the TV. I think that probably is possible, and then that would be a good way to still have the portability and have the game, running good on portable, but giving you extra power when you do want to play on the TV.
Right.
Also, okay, I would say the Virtual Console is my biggest pet peeve. Tying everything to a subscription service, I think, is... I get why they did it, but at the same time, you can only release Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3 so many times where I'm going to want to buy it. Or, even, Super Mario World, which I love that game,
Yeah, we bought it,
I'm not gonna sub just to play that again. I bought that on the Wii U. I bought that on the new 3DS.
Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance, played it originally on the SNES.
Yeah, bought it on the Wii.
And then just the drip feed that we've been getting with that, even if I were to sub, we just got Earthbound, which has been on the Wii U and the 3DS for however long. I wish we had the option to buy the games. Not that I want to buy the games again, but
better than paying for a subscription.
But I'd rather buy it the one time than, and I feel the Wii, for all the faults of the Wii U, Virtual Console was one of its really good strengths that I've bought a lot of games on, and I'm still gonna buy quite a few before they shut it down next year. So, that's my biggest thing. And then also, I wish the activity log was better.
Oh yeah.
When you start a new game, it'll be first played 4 days ago, but you could have already put 30 hours into the game, but it still just says played 30 days ago. There's no way to rank them. The 3DS had I think the 3DS's activity log was perfect. It would tell you what your most played game was, what the hours were, how many times you've played it, and it just had a ranking system based on all your games.
Yeah. And it keeps track of all your games, right?
Yeah.
Because the Switch there's like a cutoff.
Yeah, there's
it's
a
like
cutoff.
your last 15 games.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It only shows like your 15 games. So even if, let's say, Breath of the Wild was your most played game with like 120 hours, if you've played 15 newer games, it's not going to show that. You know, and then like when your friends go on your profile, it's going to be like, well, here, you might have played this game for 20 minutes. We're going to put it on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest gripe is it's not necessarily constrained to the Switch's design. Although I think if I played the Switch a lot more, and if I played titles or observed titles that weren't Mario and were along the more veins of, the Arceus ones, which have showed pretty severe lack of, to modern standards, just image quality. But then also, I mean, when Breath of the Wild came out, if I had played that more, and I've heard of the areas where, even as a release game, the FPS was dropping below 30. If I had been in those situations, I'd probably name those, but I haven't. So I guess I'm not going to say that. But I will say that it's really more of a symptom of how corporations operate. And I think there's been some give to this recently, and it's really manifested itself as in the Steam Deck for me. I don't have one, but I think my biggest issue is that if there was some more capacity for crossplay between a Nintendo and like Steam or another device where you have that ability where I could play if I'm at home because of whoever's using the TV, using it as handheld mode isn't the most preference, so I'll likely just play on the computer. But if there was a game like Terraria, or if there was a game that I could really, or Hades, or something that you could really sink your time in and feel great on both platforms. But that's not really a fault of the Switch. I think that's a fault of the industry still kind of developing. I think in some ways, hopefully optimistically, that we start seeing more crossplay implementation. But that, I think, is my biggest thing. So it's not really a knock, but if I had put a lot more time, that I think I should, because it's a great device. But just kind of as an observer, or as somebody who wishes optimistically, that's a capacity I wish it had, is to have this like crossplay implementation. But that again is more of a symptom of or a sign of the industry and how Nintendo and or Valve or Sony and Xbox, how they all operate.
I do think, regarding your point, I do think like when the Switcher came out, as people like to call it, I do think you could take, if you had PC saves, I think you could get those onto your Switch. And then I know there was a game that actually had like save data compatibility. I think it was Pillars of Eternity. I could be wrong on that, but there was one game that like you could play on Switch and you could play on PC, and like your saves would sync.
Sure.
But yeah, overall, that's not a.
Yeah, Switch. I mean, even if those, I'm glad that you mentioned it. Maybe that's what's going to happen when I actually get into Witcher 3. But was it also back and forth? Like, was it? You could access that save data from two different systems, essentially.
So I would assume The Witcher was like a one-time thing, like where you could take your PC save, bring it over to Switch, and like that was it. Like you couldn't play on Switch and then put it back, from what I know. But I think Pillars of Eternity, or whatever game it was, I do think the saves would cross back and forth. So like if you played on PC and then you were like, okay, I'm gonna play on my Switch for a bit, and then you go back to your PC and you left off where your Switch was. But I think that's the only game where I can think of that happening.
I think Hades did too, like sometime post-launch.
Okay.
My least favorite thing is just more of yours, Brett, but really just the Switch Online as a whole. I was playing Smash Bros with a friend yesterday, remotely, and just not having like a structure in the system to chat with him through the system, and like having to use Discord was very annoying. And them doing the app just feels like insulting. It only works for some games where you can chat through the app. And then the Virtual Console, I feel like by now, Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games should be on there,
That makes too
but
much
they're not.
sense.
Right? Yeah.
But here's my thing with that also. Like, if you sell like all the Pokemon games, like the Game Boy ones, like they're gonna sell like crazy.
They sold like crazy on the 3DS.
That's what I'm saying. So like, if you put them at $5-6 each.
Oh no, they put them at 10, and
Okay, even in 10,
they
I would still buy a couple of them for $10.
You gotta have Pokemon Home compatibility, but I'm sure they would.
So like, but they could make so much more money if they just put all their games for sale like that. And they knew that with the Wii and the Wii U and the 3DS. So why aren't they doing it again?
They're probably They're probably waiting for sales to go down, to be like, oh here. But the problem is the sales aren't going down, so why put in effort?
Right.
I feel like I could do a whole episode on why NSO is not worth it in the slightest for me, but
yeah,
topic for another day.
I still have it, and I'm not sure why. I never used its features, really.
it has no features.
Yeah.
But you can play online.
I'm going to list, going back to the cross-save thing. So there's cross-save and cross-progression. Progression is typically the multiplayer, the live service kind of games. But for cross-save, so it's Civ 6, Daemon X Machina, Divinity Original Sin 2, which I think that's what you were thinking about.
Yeah, that's probably what I was, yeah.
Game Dev Tycoon, which I'll just make a quick note. I've played that on mobile, and that's a super fun game. But okay, Hades. So, and then Immortals: Phoenix Rising, Kingdom 2 Crowns, Minecraft, and also Save to Your Switcher. I stole that from PCGamers.com headline.
That's good.
Good way to credit your source.
All right. List of Nintendo Switch games with cross save on Nintendo Fandom Wiki, which I think is it's probably somewhat it's probably authentic.
I've got two more questions to discuss with you guys, you fine folks. What have been your favorite Joy-Cons?
The ones that don't drift.
True.
Oh, real quick. Sorry. Why
Yeah,
why
go
can't
ahead.
people just make a controller that doesn't like drift anymore? Like, right? I'm sure it happened back in like the PS1, PS2 era, but like it was way less uncommon. You know, technology has come far in making controllers, so. But like the PS4 had problems with it, the PS5 has problems with it, the Switch. I don't know if the Xbox has those problems.
I haven't had the issues, but a lot of people have.
Yeah. And especially now controllers are $70, $80, $90.
Right.
For Xbox Elite controllers. So like, I just don't get it. But
Be better, game companies.
I think we could do a whole episode on like the game industry as a whole, and you know, maybe we'll do that pretty soon.
Sure. That sounds fun.
Yeah, like we could talk about, you know, the past, how they've gotten better, if they've gotten worse at anything. So be on the lookout for that, fans.
I'm gonna say the best Joy-Cons I've ever seen were not ones I've owned, but I think Gabe, you had the Breath of the Wild ones. Is that right?
Oh yeah, you got them right here.
I think those are really I like those. They're really colorful. They just have nice colors.
I like the Mario Odyssey ones.
I was gonna say, yeah, we don't own those, but those ones, oh my god.
That's like the only other ones I would use besides the gray ones, honestly. I mean, I don't really keep up with the colors, but I don't like the neon.
I'm trying to think. The ones I got with the Super Mario Party bundle, there was like I think it was the neon yellow and green. I actually really like those, but then they came out with the blue and yellow one, and I think that was my like go-to for a while.
Oh yeah, the Best Buy colors.
Yes, yeah.
My favorite were definitely the ones for Animal Crossing. That Switch, because it's just the nicest blue and green colors I've ever seen.
They're all right.
They just go so well with each other.
They do.
What do you mean they're all right?
I mean, I have those too, and like I just they're good. They're good with the Switch. I put them on. Well, like whenever I would bring my Switch to Joe and Shelly's, and I put them in their dock, it just looks weird. So.
Oh, right.
I
suppose.
I forgot to mention also I don't own these either, but the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee Joy-Cons are nice.
Oh, yeah, it's like brown and yellow, right?
I'll put all the colors on the screen for the video when we talk about them.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So you guys can see what we're talking about if you're watching the video.
The last thing I want to discuss, which is, I guess we kind of like talked about it so far, but what do you think the Switch's future looks like?
Well, I think, okay, normally 5 to 6 years is a console generation, right? So basically, going by that would be approaching the end of the Switch's life. And the thing with Nintendo, and especially now with the Switch, is they could announce a Switch 2 at like in June and have it ready for launch in October, and it would sell like crazy.
Right.
They don't need 3 years to, hype up the Switch.
I think that's assuming there's parts.
Yes, assuming there's enough parts and whatnot, but you don't need 3 years anymore to hype up a console like you used to. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we'll see an announcement anytime soon, but again, they don't really need to do that unless it's ready. But they still have a lot of unreleased games. Breath of the Wild 2. What else, Bert?
Oh, dude, they got the Advance Wars coming. You got Switch Sports coming. Mario Strikers.
Prime 4.
Prime 4. Bayonetta 3. Breath of the Wild 2. We got Pokemon Violet and Scarlet.
It's basically
a bunch of Mario Kart DLC.
So there's still a lot in store for the Switch, which makes me think a new one's not coming anytime soon. But again, we were talking about the power is kind of underwhelming at this point. And I was watching him play Pokemon Legends, and it's sad that a GameCube game looks almost as good as that. Like the Pokemon Coliseum and XD, if they weren't so jaggedy because they're 17 years old, it would probably look better than that, honestly. And the same goes for, what was the other one called? The other Pokemon game.
Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield definitely looks worse than the GameCube games, especially the animations. And you've seen videos on it on YouTube, everyone, I'm sure, but yeah. Mm-hmm. So they need to do something semi soon. They don't have to because they're gonna sell like crazy anyway. But for people like me who want to play at highest quality frame rates and want to play the big games, I'm not opposed to the Switch, but when it's 50 times better on my PS5, that's just, what's the point of the Switch except to take it on the go? So.
I think I agree with most of that. This is looking to be their biggest year, even bigger than 2017, assuming Breath of the Wild comes out. But even without Breath of the Wild, you have 2 different Pokemon games. You have, you got a Mario Sport game. You got Switch Sports, which is probably going to sell really well. Assuming Bayonetta 3 comes out too. They showed a trailer last year, so I don't know. This is going to be a big year, and I feel like next year is probably going to be slower, and that's when we might get the announcement for whatever the successor is going to be. But I want them to improve the online aspect of it, and whatever they do come out with next, I hope is backwards compatible, because I'm kind of at the point where I'm tired of having to rebuy everything.
Yeah.
Especially when the other two systems like are better about backwards compatibility. So.
Yeah, I think the Switch is going to finish strong.
We will.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they could release a new model Switch that is somewhat closer to the next gen systems, or they can just keep this same Switch and they'll still sell out whatever they put out. I would like to see some kind of, I don't know, internal upgrades for Switch so that games do look nicer and do run better, and they're faster. I'm worried that if you keep it backwards compatible, that might be harder to do if you're going to stay with cartridges, unless they have a separate slot for Switch games and a disc for the other games.
I mean, the Game Boy Advance could play Game Boy Color games, so.
Yeah, but he's saying like games are seem bigger.
No, I know.
The cartridge is poking out of the.
Yeah. Or the DS, yeah. The DS Lite, I guess.
Yeah. The DS, the original DS. Well,
No, they were flush. Yeah.
Oh. What, since, one last thing before we go, I know.
One more thing.
What's everyone's, like, favorite games for the system? I know we kind of touched a little on it, but...
We touched about we played. I haven't played mini Switch games, but I did like Fire Emblem. Puyo Puyo Tetris was my go-to. That's probably my most played game on the Switch.
Yeah.
It also came out on the Switch first, so that was kind of why. And then I did play Breath of the Wild a lot. Mario Kart. I haven't played Deluxe very much, but Mario Kart is always one of my favorites. And that's all I can remember, to be honest.
I second Fire Emblem Three Houses. That was really good, and I've got like 70 hours into the game, and I'm not even halfway done with like the routes. So I need to get back to that. I'm just like, I have so many more things I could be playing too, but
So many.
the gameplay's great. The graphics are kind of bad, but I can get over that. Odyssey's really good. I haven't finished that, but the art style's really good. The gameplay's fun. It's Mario. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I think, is probably my favorite port they've done. My issue and the reason I didn't play it a lot was I had played Mario Kart 8 so much that I just kind of wanted something new, and there wasn't really anything new, but we're getting new courses now, so obviously with that I'll jump back into that. Let's Go Pikachu, I think, is up there.
Okay.
I know a lot of Pokemon fans hate it because it's simple and they got rid of abilities and held items and stuff, and it's literally Gen 1 again, which Game Freak loves jerking off Gen 1. So I get all that stuff, but I think of just the Pokemon games that are on Switch, I think that's the best looking one. Besides Snap, but that's a spinoff. The art style's great. I do have that thing of nostalgia, but also I actually really like the gameplay loop of it, where you can see all the Pokemon and you don't actually battle any of them. And then you gotta say Smash. Just you have to. The single player sucks. The World of Light was really bad, and I wish they would have gone back to Subspace or something like that. But just in terms of multiplayer games and just the roster, and honestly, nothing on the Switch has hyped me up more than Smash character reveals.
I think it goes for the whole internet, but
yeah, well, I know, and everyone, when we got the first Direct, they were like, "This is the first Direct without a Smash reveal." and it kind of made me sad. It's enough to
Felt
make
different.
a grown man cry.
Yeah.
I think the game I had the most fun with was probably Overcooked. Being Muna,
Oh,
playing
okay.
that. It's just a fun game.
It is.
I have the opposite effect when I play that game. It's frustrating
Frustration.
to me.
It's both.
I
Yeah.
remember that. I remember
Especially when the levels move.
you and Nate playing that ice level.
Ah, yeah.
Frying the fish and the fries.
I don't.
Yeah.
The one where like
I just
there was like a kitchen on each side, and there was like the little ice thing
Yeah.
that you had to run like across the river for. I remember you guys just flipping at each other, and then I joined, and then we were all just yelling at each other.
yeah, I just platinumed the PS5
A fun
game last month. It was pretty. It
Wow.
was fun, but frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, I bet. Jesus. I feel like I have a controversial take and think that Odyssey is better than Breath of the Wild. At least I had a better time with
I'd
it.
agree.
I don't think it's
Yeah?
controversial, but
No?
I
No.
haven't played Breath or Odyssey.
Odyssey isn't my favorite Switch game. I want to say it's Celeste, but I'm not sure if I'm confident enough to say that. But I mean, it was at the time it felt like a really big moment for the Switch, and what that game did for indies. Just saying that any like new games can come to the Switch and thrive thrive on the Switch, and be as good as that game was with its platforming and killer soundtrack and a really touching and heartfelt story. Oh, it's great. Does anyone have any other Switch thoughts they want to share?
I just want to say, do you guys remember our Smash tournament we did?
I do.
That was. I can't remember. Did you stay over the night before, or did you come over like super early?
I think I came over super early.
Okay. Yeah, that was just.
Was that here?
No, that was at Nate and I's apartment. The day after Smash came over, like me and Gabe just were hella trying to unlock every character before everybody came over.
So many
If
characters.
there was a subspace, you could have.
Well, you could unlock characters in World of Light, but World of Light was just so bad. I think we just did simple like 1v1s, walk off the map, fight a character, and then.
Yep.
But yeah, I just remember that was a lot of fun, and then I don't even remember who all we had over, but I remember we were playing that, and we were getting tired of that, and Joe was there, and we put in Mario Tennis, and that dude just was like, "Oh my god, this is so much fun! Just having a blast with Mario Tennis."
I don't remember that part. But that sounds believable.
Last thing I want to say, which is not related to the Switch, but we're approaching the end of the first quarter, so very soon we'll be doing a recap of our fantasy games and see where everyone's at right now and our thoughts. So at the end of this month or early next month, you will be seeing that.
Yes.
I've been checking the leaderboard every like
Few days.
once a week. Yeah.
Oh, we got some bids in
I
there,
think-
so yeah.
I think I got like 28 points
Way
for
too many.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to say about Elden Ring. Its average draft position was 2. So I'm trying to think, like, what would someone possibly take before that?
Breath of the Wild,
Right.
but
But that was like 4 when I looked. The average draft position.
I can't think of anything
out of
else.
4.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just wonder if there's somewhere on the website there's like a list of the average ranking. I mean, I guess if like someone takes Breath of the Wild first and Elden Ring goes second, but I don't know. I don't know how it works, but maybe there's a list somewhere.
Babylon's Fail, am I right?
Nice.
I haven't seen the scores yet.
Mine is 17.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's this year's Elden Ring miss for me, so it's okay.
That was a good counter pick on my part.
At least you didn't have 22 points last year.
And he did. He had 22 points.
Yeah,
he just had a lot
you
more than 22 points.
Fair.
Yeah.
Nathan, did you have any thoughts on the Switch? Any last thoughts? Or forever hold your peace? You can't ever say it again?
I'll hold my peace.
Okay. I'll just say that I'm grateful for that the Switch exists. Because I think my life would be very different without it. Probably more boring somehow. If you made it this far, thank you very much for listening. We put out episodes weekly about all kinds of things. What we're playing,
News.
any other news, timely topics. You'll find that here on the Tropical Cast. See you next week.
Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.